The super competitive Busch Grand National Series to the desert in Mexico this weekend. We'll go live via satellite and talk with some of the stars of this year's Baja 500. This is TNN Motorsports Magazine Afternoon Edition for Sunday, June 9th, 1991.
The Baja International over the weekend attracted more than 200 entries. All of them wanted to prove they were Baja tough. In the end, though, it was once again the Baja that proved to be tougher. Only a handful of the huge field even finished. For the few that were successful, the race took at least 11 hours and as much as 24 hours. Ivan Stewart was one of the early starters, and his Toyota Mini pickup led most of the way. Farther back, Rob McCachran dueled for the lead in the big pickup class with Larry Ragland. Ragland won the last race down here on the Baja California Peninsula and was hoping to make it 2 in a row for his Chevrolet. But in the final analysis, it was Stewart's head start and the opportunity to run free of other competitors' dust the entire race that made the difference. Stewart came into the finish line in Ensenada nearly an hour ahead of Ragland.
Anytime you can get a starting position like we had and break out of the dust, it really makes a pleasure out of racing down here. In the dust is, you know, your odds are probably tripled of having an accident. So it was great all day for us.
Reporting from the Baja International in Ensenada, Mexico, this is Jerry Garrett.
All right, thanks, Jerry. Now we're going to go live via satellite and talk with 11-time small and mid-size pickup truck champion, Manny SCORE. Manny, first of all, you almost made it 12. You had a pretty good run going second place. It was a pretty good run for your team. Tell us about the event.
Well, it was the Baja 500, of course, and we all thought it was going to be fast, but as it turned out, it got a little bit rough and dusty. We had a new section there that we didn't get a chance to pre-run, so as a result, it cost a lot of us some time. The BF Goodrich Ford Ranger did a hell of a job for me, though. We did manage second. We did have our problems, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Manny, you've been so consistent over the years in the desert, not just in Baja, but in all of the off-road events. What makes you so good?
I think teaming up with Bill Strapp Motorsports and myself, knowing the truck and how the desert, I can read the desert real well, I think, and then knowing how to repair a truck when it does break out there without having the crew come in after me is a big help.
As far as repairing the truck goes, did you have any of those types of problems in this year's event down in Baja?
Well, we had a slight transmission leak, and it caused us some time having to stop every 20 miles to add some oil. So I think that if we didn't have to stop, we would have been a lot closer.
Manny, a lot of people, you know, go down and try these events that are not necessarily racers or have any experience. I know you see them come every year. You know, it takes a lot of time to learn how to run these types of events over the tough terrain that you guys have to go through. What do you tell people when they come up and they say, "Hey, Manny, we know you're good at this. Tell us how to attack this type of an event"?
Yeah, you know, I remember those days when I started on my own out there trying to win, and it was a big feat. They do ask me a lot of questions, and I tell them, man, you just got to charge hard and just take care of the equipment, because if you start abusing it, you ain't going to finish, and you have to finish to win.
Manny, it's so great to see. We congratulate you on another fine run, and sorry it wasn't the 12th victory, but thanks for spending some time with us, and of course we'll look forward to seeing you in some more events later on this year.
Thank you, Pat. Good
all right, thank you very much, Manny SCORE. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll have all of yesterday's AMA motorcycle action, so stay with us.
Start single file running against the clock, and each of these 23 different bike and car classes has its own strategy, as Wayne Cook explains.
We're just going to play it cool. Hopefully there'll be a dust window in between us and the trucks, and we'll wiggle our way through to put as many trucks in between us and the guys behind us that help to give us an advantage.
Ivan, there's certainly an advantage to being near the front of the start line, isn't there?
Well, there really is, Steve. You know, we draw out of the hat for our starting positions, and there's nothing like having an early number like this. Dust is probably one of the biggest factors that we have to contend with. And up here, there's just no dust in the straight.
Here's our first look through our in-car camera inside Ivan's cabin. I guess you'll have to tell us just how accurately this gives our viewers a look at what you're seeing in the driver's seat.
Well, this is very accurate. This is right off the starting line. This is probably 2 or 3 miles off the starting line. I'm concentrating not making a mistake because at the beginning part of a race, you're vulnerable to making mistakes. You're not in the groove. Things aren't running quite as smooth. You're not sure exactly how the brakes, the steering's working. So just concentrating, not making mistakes, the biggest thing right here.
101 is John Thole, and it did take you a while to pass him.
Well, John did a fine job. I was impressed with his driving, actually. It took me a while to get by him, but he was going a little bit quicker than what I would have wanted to go right off the start of the race, but I think he did a fine job.
105 is the car of last year's Baja 1000 winner. That's Bob Gordon, who will be sharing driving duties with Butch Archiero. Bob is also the father of Robbie Gordon, last year's winner of this event. 110 is the team of Jerry Penhall and Bud Feldkamp. This is Jerry behind the wheel and running very well early on in the race. Here's Danny Lettner behind the wheel of car 115, and the 63-year-old former stock car driver just keeps plugging along. Rob McCachran is the first of the full-size Class 8 trucks through this area. And Ivan, you used to race in this class.
Yes, I did. And I always love these trucks. The size, the brute horsepower. Rob's truck is probably making in the neighborhood of 700 horsepower and capable of about 120 miles an hour.
This is Randy Salmont in Dave Westham's big GMC truck, and for the moment, he's right on McCachran's tail. As is Scott McMillan, winner of this year's Class 8 battle at the Parker 400, and now looking for his second career win in the full-size two-wheel drive pickup class. All of these guys will have to contend with Class 8's hottest driver and points leader, Larry Ragland.
Larry really does have a state-of-the-art truck here. This truck's got about 24 inches of wheel travel, about a 700 horsepower motor, and again, capable of about 120 miles an hour.
We're now looking at the first of the Class 10 buggies. These cars are limited to 1,650cc motors, but move through the desert with good speed, as much as 80 miles an hour or so, and Greg Hibbs is running out in front early on. The favorite in this class has got to be Doug Fortin Jr. in 1017. He is the season-long Class 10 points leader. This is John Kelly, currently running third in the class in his Raceco single-seat buggy, but maintaining contact with the leaders. Back now in Ivan's truck, and it looks like you were really working here in this section, Ivan. We hear so much about desert race drivers reading the terrain. Tell us what that really means.
Well, what that basically means, the race car drivers are always looking for clues ahead that are going to tell us what's coming up before we actually get there. In this particular road, I'm looking for high berms on the side of the road. The race cars make a berm or throw dirt up on the side of the road, and the higher the berm, the sharper the corner. The other thing I'm looking for is greenery. The greener the terrain, the more water, possibly the bigger the ditch.
For those of you wondering just how SCORE comes up with these tough Baja desert race courses, well, it's not easy.
Now we've developed a new section here of approximately 50 miles that is a detour around the more populated areas. And I know
designing the race course is a job that really begins long before race day. After South Fish has carefully negotiated with Mexican ranchers, landowners, and government officials to clear the way for use of the areas, SCORE race officials go to work. Four-wheel vehicles travel to the remote Baja countryside to see just what kind of challenge faces their racers.
First of all, we just take a map of Baja and look on the map and get the general idea of where we'd like to go. And then we come down here and we look at the areas that are not populated, and they're the most wilderness and barren places we can find, and that's where we kind of want to go put on our race.
The race course is marked with ribbons and small signs, just enough of them to let quick-reacting drivers know they're headed in the right direction.
We got to be right here, and we got to be trying to get over to the Compadre Trail.
SCORE is always looking for new areas that will challenge the driver in race cars. Baja's toughest terrain is capable of reducing vehicles that can run as much as 120 miles an hour down to an average speed for the entire course of only 50 miles an hour. And that's just the folks who finish. Usually half the field will never get to the checkered flag. That's what SCORE is looking for, tough, rocky trails that have come to define the word Baja. Marked or not, Ivan, I assume it helps when you've spent a lot of time down here in Mexico running these roads year after year like Rod Hall and Jim Fricker have.
Well, it really does. There's nothing like knowing all these roads, exactly where the sharp corners are, the bad spots, the ditches, where you can go fast. I try and know all these roads so well I don't even need the markers.
Class 4 is for full-size four-wheel drive pickups, and we've had a different winner in each SCORE HDRA event. Steve Kelly in 401 grabbing the win at the Parker 400 in his big Chevy. Timmy Lee Pruitt in a Ford was the Class 4 winner at the Nissan 400 in Las Vegas. Number 404 is leading the season-long class points battle, but is running third early on in this race. Greg Vaughn has jumped to the early lead in the Unlimited Baja Bugs class. Hart McClowater in 5:03 is running a close second at this year's Baja 500. This is the 1600 class now, and Tom Burns in 1608 is on the move.
Looks like Tom looking for a place to pass here. In off-road racing, a lot of times when you're caught like this and the guy knows he's caught, it's common courtesy to go ahead and just let him go on by, and that's what's happened.
Running second in the class for 1- or 2-seat buggies limited to 1600cc motors, Jim Fishback is in 1615. Remember, these buggies had a staggered start, so Cameron Steele in 1616, although behind physically, is close enough that he's actually in second place on time. These 16s are constantly jockeying back and forth. Watch as Rafael Echegalan in 1606 slides by Bruce Wing in 1624. And Ivan, you go off the course here, you're going to get stuck.
And that's when it's nice to have a co-driver, because you make him get out and start digging.
Stay with us. Lots more Baja racing to come.
Yokohama high-performance light truck tires, in case you need to push your truck.
SCORE International puts you in the driver's seat. Since 1973, we've put on the most exciting off-road racing events in the world. And now you can be a part of each exciting season. A $50 membership fee provides you with a rule book, patch, decals, membership card, and a 1-year subscription to SCORE News. Contact the SCORE International Championship Off-Road Racing Office in Westlake Village, California, or call 818-889-9216 and join today.
Toyota's Ivan Iron Man Stewart wins. Another win for Ivan Iron Man Stewart. This Toyota has Ivan Iron Man Stewart. In the winner's circle again, Ivan Iron Man Stewart.
Wonder if Andretti has these problems.
Welcome back to SCORE Off-Road Racing. Steve Weiss in the Iron Man, Ivan Stewart with the Ducati SCORE Baja 500. This is the in-car camera of Danny Ashcraft's Ford Explorer in Class 6 for production sedans. And there are some differences between this shot and the one in your car we were looking at earlier.
Well, the big one is Danny takes the co-driver with him. The other is his visibility factor is much better because it sits so much higher. Anytime you get higher in a race car, you can see better.
Ashcraft will have his hands full today because 604 is another Ford Explorer, that of John Swift. And John has won 2 of the 3 Class 6 battles this season, taking a big lead in the season-long point standings. Running third at Baja, the guy who's also chasing Swift in the points, 616, is Mike Leslie. And like Swift, he's a transplant from the mini pickup 4-wheel drive class. Class 3 is for short wheelbase 4-wheel drive trucks, and Dan Smith, who is having a lot of success in his first season with the Rough Riders, is out in front already here. Dale White from Las Vegas is behind the wheel of a Chevy Blazer, and he's putting the heat on Smith's Bronco. Mike Lund is in the Nissan Pathfinder driving for an injured Sherman Balch. Mike managed that emotional class win of the Nissan 400 after the death of his co-driver Buzz Combe during the Parker 400. Now on to the Unlimited mini pickup. 704 is off-road veteran Roger Mears. Like the rest of us, Roger was tuned into this year's Indy 500, where little brother Rick upheld the family name.
We were just so proud of him and happy for him to win. I mean, 4 times, my gosh. I mean, him and I started racing out strictly as a hobby, and who to think that he's where he is now.
Our viewers will remember it was during last year's race when Roger's co-driver Tony Alvarez suddenly climbed out over the engine to deposit the power steering fluid needed to keep a Class 7 win possible.
I think, you get caught up in the heat of battle at the time, and adrenaline's going, and you do what you have to do to win. But I really do credit Tony for being so ballsy, I guess, that to make it happen, do what it takes to win.
I can pretty much guarantee that is truly one of the more amazing motorsports highlights you'll ever see. The reason Roger couldn't stop for repairs last year is this guy right here, Manny Esquera.
These guys have had some great races, and it seems like one of them's always looking over the shoulder for the other.
The third guy running in that pack is Scott Douglas, a former Class 6 and stock mini pickup champion, now trying his hand with an unlimited mini pickup. Here's another veteran, Ivan, having a great year.
Yes, this is Jerry McDonald, and he is having a great year. Jerry's been racing for about 20 years. In fact, Jerry and I were teammates in Class 8 for Joe McPherson a few years ago.
The defending champions in this class for four-wheel drive mini pickups are Paul and Dave Simon in 760. They're still looking for that first win of 1991. Darren York in 762 is next, and a lot of folks are surprised to find out that all the classes out here do not have four-wheel drive.
Well, in this type of terrain, you really don't need the four-wheel drive. In most cases, it's just extra weight you're carrying.
The first stock mini pickup we see is the Toyota of class points leader Jerry Welchel. Jerry also coming off a win at San Felipe. Next is the mini pickup of Spencer Lowe, and this class has also had 3 different winners so far this year. Spencer's win coming at Parker. Running real well in this year's Baja 500 is a guy who should enjoy some kind of a home field advantage, Willie Valdez from Ensenada. On the other end of that picture, 727 is the stock mini pickup of Chuck Johnson, who found out if you want to play in the major leagues, you're going to have to commute to a race team on the West Coast from his hometown of Rockford, Illinois.
I fly a lot. I put a lot of miles on in the airplane. We fly out before the race. I spend a week out here. We take the truck testing so that I can get familiar with any of the changes that we've made. And the crew keeps me abreast of all the changes that we do and everything that's going on with the truck, and it makes a big difference to have a crew like this.
Here's Wayne Cook, who we talked to before the race. Ivan, didn't you race a Baja Bug a long, long time ago?
Yes, I did for about a year when I was driving for Coco and Charlotte Corral. In fact, while I was waiting for Walker Evans to build my first Class 8 truck.
Running second in the class for Baja Bugs limited to 1600cc motors is Mario Ledesma Jr. out of Chula Vista, California. Now a look at Class 9's Pancho Billo. These are buggies limited to 100 inches of wheelbase.
Shorter cars are normally harder to drive and just don't handle quite as well, but they're all pretty equal, and it makes it a good driver's class.
Last season's Class 9 champ is Rich Richardson in 900. He's also running real strong in this race. Rich was also a class winner at the SCORE San Felipe 250. Running in third place in the class, George Earl from Huntington Beach, California in 995. 113 is Jack Johnson, and Jack is one of the top drivers around, but he's had a ton of trouble getting this new Jeep competitive this season. Again in this race, notice the driver's side front tire. His Goodyear looks to be having a bad day. Ivan, I know for a fact your team spends a lot of time between races testing your tires. Why is that so important?
Well, Steve, I'm really proud of the fact that we have a sponsor like Yokohama Tire that's willing to go out and spend the time and money and dedicated enough to build us the most durable tire in the market. We've been known to go out to Las Vegas in the Rock Garden and spend weeks developing a tire that's the toughest one out there. We try and flatten these tires. It's unbelievable what we do to them. There's nothing like having the confidence to drive the way you want to drive and not have to worry about having flat tires. It's just a great feeling for a driver.
Bob Gordon, running second behind Ivan, is getting a little extra help today as a member of the so-called BFG Nighthawk network. His name is Felix Giles, and he's known as the Nighthawk. His job on race day is to fly high over the course, watching out for BF Goodrich race team members who might have run into a problem.
We have a visual on race car 304. It looks like he's down with a flat.
The rules state that race vehicles can't receive any aerial support when they break down, but it is okay to pass along information. In fact, it's more than okay. It can and has saved lives when there's a serious accident in a sport that for the most part takes place in remote areas. That's important to Giles, already in the record books as off-road's first official black driver, because he knows what it's like to be behind the wheel and in need of help.
It's been a function that I've enjoyed. Normally I would be one of the drivers myself, but until I get a chance to get a ride back in the vehicle, this is my way to more or less contribute something back to the sport.
The former submarine sailor, who now works as a senior engineer for Cubic Defense Systems, appreciates that his company allows him to come to Baja and perform what he feels is a real public service. Felix says he's even helped out competitors during emergencies and certainly wouldn't hesitate to do it again.
The Nighthawk has turned out to be sort of like that angel in the sky when people are really in need.
Rob McEachran is hoping he won't have to call on the Nighthawk. Rob's still the first full-size pickup on the road, and co-driver Mike Schopstall tells us that things are going pretty well.
Well, I'm still doing a good job. He's cruising along here pretty easy. We're not having too much trouble.
Of course, not too much trouble in off-road lingo means there actually might be a little problem. That is apparently the case, as a few minutes later we were able to listen in on Brian Stewart's radio conversation with his pit team.
Dodger 3, this is main pit. McEachran's in the pits with bad brakes on the rear. They're going to fix the bad brakes on the rear.
As for Brian's day, well, we asked Ivan's son how things were going.
Everything's running good. The start's just coming along. I think we're running about second now. I just got to keep running hard and make it to the finish line. We're going to be right there.
And as so often happens in off-road, moments later, new information emerges.
Dodger 2 to Dodger 4. Yeah, Dodger 4. How are you doing, all right? Yeah, I'm coming down the hill right now. Okay, Bob McEachran just drove out of here just now.
So instead of a chance to maybe take over first, Brian will have to make a quick pit stop to keep up. Still putting the heat on is Scott McMillan, running right behind McEachran and Stewart in his big Ford pickup. 811 is the truck of Ricardo Navarro of Ensenada with Pablo Moraz behind the wheel, and he's going to encounter some trouble negotiating this corner. We're going to take another look at this in slow motion. Any idea what happened, Ivan?
It looks to me like the angle of the camera doesn't show the amount of dust that he's seeing. He got offline a little bit to the inside, hit that berm, and that's what happens. It just shows you how fast something like this can happen to you.
Well, now we've got a little fire going, and along with the fire extinguisher carried in the truck for situations like this, they're trying to put it out with dirt. A rather startled driver tells us what happened.
All the way is so bad. Yeah, and with the dust you can't see anything. Anything.
You better believe his adrenaline is pumping.
Well, that's what you call driver error, and that was an expensive one for this guy, and it's just something that happened. You try not to do it, but I'll guarantee you he won't do it on that spot again.
This is Larry Ragland, and he's got a problem too, although his doesn't appear to be near as serious. Larry's got a flat on the passenger side rear tire, but his truck is equipped with some of the latest in off-road technology, an air-powered jack system built right into the truck.
Steve, you know, something off-road racers are always looking for is an edge, something to make us quicker and faster. It looks to me like Larry's found something.
There are several different kinds of these systems in use in off-road today, and we're going to take a moment to take a closer look at just how one of them operates. Getting a flat tire during an off-road race isn't that uncommon. Of course, losing a race in the time it took to change a tire isn't uncommon either.
It takes, 4 or 5, 6 minutes to change a tire, and that's one of our biggest concerns in off-road racing is having a flat tire. Well, with a jack like that, you can do it in a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
A jack like that is what longtime off-roader Johnny Johnson is marketing as a new piece of off-road equipment. He's taken magnesium aircraft struts and converted them into a lightweight portable air jack.
Well, it has a CO2 bottle that works a hydraulic air ram, and you just pull a pin, the air ram falls down, it pull a lever, it jacks it up. Then you have the source for running an impact instead of a speed wrench and a brake bar. So you can get out with an impact wrench, change the tire, put the other one on, put your impact away, and you're gone. And it puts away easy. That whole ram weighs 7.5 pounds, where the hydraulic jack it replaced weighed 21 pounds. So the weight isn't even a problem.
Thanks to this new technology, Larry's truck should be moving again quickly. The first bikes have now reached the halfway point of the race, and the team of Rossler and Honeycutt is first on the road, averaging about 57 miles an hour to this point. 669 is the team of Taylor and Davis, and they're running second now as these bikes come down out of the hills and head to the Baja Pacific coastline. Garth Sweetland's bike will be the next one we see running third, and Ivan, I think this is one of the really pretty spots on the course.
It really is, and I always enjoy getting down to the beach. Not only is it pretty, great roads to race on, but it's nice and cool.
Let's check in on some of the other bike class leaders. In Class 20, the Kawasaki 125 of John Brash and Roger Hurd is still leading the way. Alfie Cox and Chuck Dempsey are leading the 250cc class, also on a Kawasaki. Kenny Perry and Scott Forward are leading the 30 and older bike riders, but get a little out of control on this turn. What do you think, Ivan? Loose dirt, or maybe sneaking a glance at that gorgeous view up ahead?
Well, we're getting pretty far into the course right now, and it could be that you lost concentration and get tired.
It always amazes me just how much one little mistake can cost you in off-road racing. Chris Haynes on bike 879, a Kawasaki, is leading Class 40. That's for riders 40 years and older. Greg Rowe and Scott Prather are leading the 250cc ATV class. Rod and Randy Engine are still bouncing along in second. The team of Dean Sundel and Lance Shoemaker is leading the class for the larger ATVs. And I'm not sure whether this is David Calloway or John Silva on the bike at the moment, but one of the two apparently has had some trouble with his hand or arm and is now bringing this Class 30 bike in one-handed. That's got to really be tough to do. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us.
It's really no big deal. Twice as old as most of the guys out there. So I just go twice as fast.
Steve Weiss and Ivan Stewart at the 1991 Tecate SCORE Baja 500, and once again inside Ivan's front-running Toyota Yokohama pickup.
Steve, the truck just ran great all day long. The only problem I had was a brake bias problem, and I have a knob on the dashboard where I can change more brake to the front to the rear, and I just couldn't get enough rear brake.
We might even see some evidence of that as you come sliding into one of the 9 checkpoints on the course. This is so-called secret checkpoint just prior to the coastline section of the course.
And they put it here as the most strategic place where they may cut the course, and this way we can catch anybody who's cheating, disqualify them, and keep everybody honest, hopefully.
Bob Gordon actually had 2 cars entered in this race, one under Butch Archiero's name. Bob decided to drive 105 because of the better starting position that Butch drew. So far, that strategy has worked. Danny Lettner says his new Class 1 full-size Chevy pickup should be ready by next race, but his reliable Raceco buggy has him running 3rd overall today as he comes by the Ocean Run. Ivan, as we take a look at Larry Ragland's full-size Class 8 truck up and running again, what are the major differences in the buggies and big trucks?
Well, the obvious is the weight, the size, the horsepower, roughly 700 versus about 300 horsepower. Because the truck has the engine up front, they always seem to turn better, much better than a buggy, actually.
Here's Rob McCachran, a competitor of yours this season in the Mickey Thompson Stadium Series. Rob's starting to really come on in both the desert and stadium as he gets more familiar with his truck. He came over from the Walker Evans race team to take over the slot vacated by Robbie Gordon. A lot of the Class 8s we saw early in the race have now dropped back into the pack, and this is shaping up as a 3-truck battle with Scott McMillan making up the 3rd member of that trio. Ivan Stewart is the man they're chasing for the overall title. And of course, Ivan gets most of the glory, but we'd like to take a moment to focus on some of the behind-the-scenes members of these off-road teams. Nobody ever said Peter Miles's job was easy. As crew chief of Ivan Stewart's desert truck, the pressure associated with settling for nothing less than first filters down very quickly through the crew. It's a challenge Peter thrives on, and that's really not a surprise considering his father, Ken, was one of the top sports car drivers of the 1960s, with wins at the 24 Hours of Daytona and Sebring. Ken Miles's career was cut short in 1966 following a fatal test track accident at Riverside.
I've been around racing all my life, from my earliest memories, and it's something that I've always enjoyed and felt really comfortable with. And so it just seems natural that I just kept on moving into it.
5 years ago, Peter hooked up with Cal Wells's Precision Preparation Team. There's little doubt this is the most professional and sophisticated team in off-road racing, just the kind of perfectionist organization that Peter says he fits right in with. Does Peter ever see himself behind the wheel of a race car? Only to make sure Ivan's truck makes it safely through contingency.
Well, I don't know if I really have any driving potential. Perhaps I do, perhaps I don't. I'm more comfortable doing the things I know how to do, and I feel I'm good at it, so that's where I like to stay.
27-year-old Steve Ragg probably doesn't look the part of an off-road pit crew member. Working full-time for the San Diego County Planning Department, he represents the great number of pit team members who look at off-road as a hobby, although hobby really doesn't seem to sum it up considering the time and effort it takes. Steve enjoys leaving his paperwork behind to travel to spots like colorful Baja, where he's a member of Doug Fortin Jr.'s Class 10 team. Hard work, no glory, and no money should be enough to convince most fellas to find a new weekend diversion. Not Steve.
Yeah, you really have to love it because there is no money involved with it. I don't get anything out of it besides just the sheer satisfaction of watching someone win, you know, putting an effort into something and it coming out in the end in a positive way.
When he isn't off-roading, Steve and his wife Marcia relax at their El Cajon home, awaiting the birth of their first child. Marcia believes Steve's hobby is the kind of family activity they all can enjoy.
It's like a camping atmosphere, and a bunch of families get together, and all the people that go out there are real nice. We love it.
Why doesn't Steve take up a less demanding hobby? Perhaps horseshoes? Well, actually, he does that as well. But anybody as competitive as Steve will tell you whether it's horseshoes or off-road, it's a lot more fun when there are winners and losers, especially if you're the winner. Steve Ragg must be doing his job today because his driver, Doug Fortin Jr., is currently the Class 10 leader. It would be tough to call it a comfortable lead, though, as Greg Hibbs is less than half a minute behind on time. Our 1600 class leader, Tom Burns, has decided to take the option of running down the beach. It seems like that sand would be too soft to run in.
Not really, Steve, because the engine transmission's over the rear tires, and that helps for better traction. Not only that, these originated from dune buggies, and he's right at home here.
This class has also turned into pretty much of a two-buggy race, with Cameron Steele in 1616 providing the chase of class leader Tom Burns. Here's another veteran, Roger Mears, leading the unlimited mini pickup class, and like Ivan, Roger spends a lot of time pre-running the course down here. How much does that help?
It really helps, Steve, believe me. Knowing the course like the back of your hand, where you can run flat out like Roger's running, knowing there's no ditches, there's no rocks, there's no turns, he's obviously knows exactly where he's going here.
This class for the past several years has been a shootout between Mears and last year's class points winner Manny Esquera. Same story here in 91, with Manny grabbing the first couple of SCORE HDRA events and Roger winning at San Felipe. Another look at the Herzog Racing Ford Explorer, and this is our closest class battle of the day. Danny Ashcraft and John Swift in their production sedans are still within seconds of each other. It seems to me as if this class, Class 6, seems to have gotten much faster in just the last year. Why is that?
Well, they're faster and faster every year because of factory participation. I think it's very important to manufacturers, if it be tires, trucks, or whatever, to win the race like the Baja 500 for the advertising value.
Here is John Swift, and he is really pushing his Ford Explorer in this race with Ashcraft. This has to seem like deja vu for John. It was just about at this exact same spot on the race course where we caught up with him last year in his four-wheel drive mini pickup. He provided us with quite a show as he took it up on two wheels, but he made the save and went on to win his second Baja International in a row. This is the first season for John in this class and vehicle, and Ivan, I know that's something you can identify with. It seems like ages ago when you brought your Toyota into Class 1, but thinking back, what are some of the challenges you face when you make a change like that?
Well, driving the race vehicle is exactly the same, regardless of what kind of class you're in, but it seems in racing you're always trying to prove yourself. John is going to have to prove that he can be competitive in this class. It's just something that we go through all the time.
Sometimes that takes a while, but John got off to a good start with the win in his first time out in this vehicle. Dan Smith faces some of those same challenges in that he has moved into Dave Ashley's old Class 3 truck for this season. Dale White is running second to Smith in the season-long class points race, and that's precisely where he's running today, although he does have quite a bit of ground to make up now. When Ivan and I come back, we'll check on the progress of the motorcycle leaders, so stay with us for more of the Tecate SCORE Baja 500.
Training, Toyota style. Now hit the shower. I love what you do for me, Toyota.
What would happen if you combined both Pro Rally and Desert Off-Road in an event that would cover 16,000 kilometers of the Eurasian continent in almost a month? Find out September 1st. The 1991 Paris-Moscow-Beijing Marathon Raid. The most punishing rally ever staged for four-wheel drive vehicles. Competitors will leave Paris on September 1st and move through Belgium, Germany, Poland, and the Soviet Union, where the real rally begins, along the edge of the Utsiout Plateau, the Soviet Grand Canyon, a ferry ride across the Amu Darya River, through the majestic Tashkent mountain region, lined with treacherous canyons, then on to China, through the Great Wall, and the Teklimakan Desert. Teklimakan, which means once you go in, you never come out. Then, 16,000 kilometers from Paris, the finish in the ancient city of Beijing on September 27th. If this is your kind of race, call Rally Sport Inc. 201-575-4144.
Welcome back to the Baja 500. Steve Weiss and Ivan Stewart with you, and Larry Rossler's bike is down and out of this race. The new overall motorcycle leader at this point is 669 Ron Naylor. Taking over second is Garth Sweetland aboard 666. As for the overall four-wheel vehicle leader, as it has been nearly from the drop of the green flag, our co-host, Ivan Stewart, had his Toyota Yokohama well out in front. Ivan on his way in for a pit stop, and Ivan, we'll let you take us through this. I do want to say the first time I saw this video, I was shocked at the speed of this pit stop, and we do want race fans to take note of that.
Steve, this is the precision preparation team, and these guys are so dedicated and so good. They practice. They just don't get any better than these guys. I got to take a lot of pride in them. Right here, we're just taking on 10 gallons of gas. They want to get me in and out real quick. We got a car behind us. We want to get going. I'm going to get a chance for a drink of water in this one. This is very quick.
And folks, for those of you at home that didn't have the stopwatch on it, that was a 10-second pit stop, and that's amazing for any kind of motorsport racing. Danny Lettner has now moved into second place overall, slipping by Bob Gordon and trying to reel in Ivan. Bob apparently had a wheel literally explode on him, and that cost him 15 minutes of downtime. He's now turned driving duties over to Butch Archiero to take it back into Ensenada. Running a solid fourth is the vehicle of Jerry Penhall and Bud Feldkamp. They also have suffered some downtime. Both drivers have found some of those famous Baja rocks that are capable of taking you out without warning. Larry Ragland is really clicking now. He's not only the first full-size truck on the road, but he's running fourth overall. That's familiar territory for Larry, as he took the overall title at San Felipe, even beating all the bikes. Rod Hall is leading Class 4, and that may even surprise Rod, as he knows this isn't the fastest truck in the class.
We're a little bit behind right now because we didn't get our new truck done at Parker. We're having a few problems getting our new truck done, so Jim and I are kind of like just kind of out here doing the best we can with a 10-year-old truck.
This is obviously a much longer pit stop than Ivan's was, enough so Rod can grab a quick bite to eat. We forget these races can take 8 to 10, even 20 hours for the Baja 1000. Do you find yourself getting hungry on the road?
Very seldom do I get hungry during a race. Maybe in the Baja 1000 I might grab something to eat or an orange at a pit stop, but normally I just drink a lot of liquids and just keep going.
Here's Steve Kelly, who was leading Class 4 until he lost his transfer case. It took him 45 minutes to repair it, and he's back running a strong second now. Steve's McPherson Chevrolet teammate Jerry McDonald is having a better day. Jerry once again the fastest four-wheel drive mini pickup on the race course, and he even has the time to enjoy the picturesque Baja background. Darren York is running a solid second place in the class as he cruises by the Pacific Ocean. We're going to step back a moment to take a closer look at this beautiful area. Baja has many faces, and all are colorful and interesting. Ensenada, as a port city, has a thriving fishing business. You won't find any fresher catch anywhere. Northern Baja has long been known as a tourist resort area where one can simply unwind or wind up for a quick round of golf. There's plenty to do and see here, such as visiting the famous La Bufadora, or blowhole, where ocean and jagged rock have come together to form a dynamic crashing of the waves. With a steady stream of visitors, local artisans have decided this would be an appropriate spot to manufacture and then sell their wares. If you're looking for other examples of local color, it doesn't get much more colorful than this Mexican street performer, whose reputation is now spread across all of northern Baja. This area of Baja is a thriving agricultural center. The fields supply both food and jobs for local residents.
Yes? Tomatillo, en español.
Tomatillo? They're small tomatoes?
Tomatoes, como tomato verde, green. Like tomato, green, tomato.
Verde.
Verde, como verde, para la salsa.
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 A wide variety of fruits and vegetables are produced in this region, an attribute that early missionary settlers came to recognize immediately. Several area wineries have long histories.
This winery is the oldest winery from Mexico. This winery was founded in the year of 1791 by Dominican fathers or missionaries from Spain and Santo Tomas Valley.
The wineries now not only continue to be a piece of the local economy, but also act as yet another interesting stop for visitors who come here by cruise ship or on treks down from Southern California. Everywhere you look in this area, it seems as if construction is in progress, and the buildup of Baja will undoubtedly continue as more and more people have come to decide this is not only a nice place to visit, but a nice place to call home. Jerry Welchel is not enjoying his trip to Baja this time. He's out of the race, and that means there will be a change in the very close stock mini pickup standings. Jerry was the points leader. Spencer Lowe was fourth in the points, but a win here will push him right up near the top of the heap as he only trailed Welchel by 10 points. In for a pit stop, Chuck Johnson has the most to gain because he trails Welchel by only 3 points, but Willie Valdez just jumped ahead of him, so this class race is far from over. And the way Ramon Castro was still pushing his truck, it looks like he's trying to become a factor in things as well. It's still tight in the Unlimited Baja Bugs class where Greg Vaughn continues to set the pace with no downtime. The Clowarders are in second, hoping Vaughn will fall into trouble. The Cook brothers are still leading in the 1600 Baja Bugs class. Wayne started, Darrell is driving now, and he'll pass the car off to Allen to finish the race. Mario Ledesma and Dave Robinson are running second in the class, about 20 minutes back. Last year's Baja 1000 Class 9 winner Pancho Villa is the short wheelbase buggy leader, apparently headed to another Baja win. Rich Richardson will have to settle for those second place points.
You never know. Second place points can be very, very important toward the end of the year. Could be the championship.
Larry Plank looks to have another win wrapped up in the Mini-Mag class. Scott Steinberger will follow him in for second. Martin Garibay of Ensenada will take home top honors in the stock production VW class. There's also little doubt about our overall winner. Ivan, I guess at this point you just want to hold the truck together.
That's right. The truck has run great all day long. No major trouble. Everybody has done their job. The truck's running smooth. I definitely don't want to make any mistakes. It's just a great feeling to be in this position with about a 20-minute lead and heading for the finish line.
Stay with us. We'll come back to Ensenada for the finish of the Baja 500. Welcome back. Steve Weiss and Ivan Stewart at the Baja 500. The time to finish line was at Ojos, but Ensenada is where you find the checkered flag and all the glory. What a day for Garth Sweetland's team. Greg Zitterkopf broke his foot during his turn on the bike, and then rival Larry Rossler joined Sweetland and Paul Krause after his bike went out to try and make sure Team Kawasaki took first.
We had a pretty tough start. We blew a shock early, and we had a flat, and I rode about 40, 50 miles on a rear flat, so we were down early, so we had right from the very first play, had to play catch-up from the very beginning. So it made it for a long, long day. We didn't know if we were even going to make it to the finish even. And lo and behold, here we are. We ended up being first.
Ron Naylor and Ty Davis finished second overall, although there's a little confusion as they come in on the wrong road. Danny Hamill got it right, teaming with Jimmy Lewis on their KTM for third bike overall. South African Alfie Cox was the first 250cc class bike in and fourth overall, and he liked the course.
They slowed up the race a hell of a lot. It wasn't just flat, wide open across dry lake beds and all that, and it was very tight and twisty, and it was a nice course, yeah. It was tougher than 1,000, I thought.
Last season's overall motorcycle points champion Kenny Perry may be headed that way again as he picks up the class win for 30 and older riders and fifth overall.
It was technical and fun. It was a well-rounded, it was a course that you could diversify your riding partners out with to accommodate what works good for each of you. It was a really good course.
And as the bikes continue to finish here in Ensenada, we want to take a moment to tell you about the positive public relations off-roaders are doing for themselves when they're not busy battling each other on race day. A lot of people are surprised to find out that Baja has an abundance of forested areas. Forests that through the years have been ravaged by fires, floods, and drought. To the rescue, off-roaders, through SCORE's Greening of Baja program. SCORE has initiated a program that will involve the planting of a variety of trees, including some pine trees that are unique to the Baja Peninsula. From trees to ambulances and medical clinics, it's just another example of off-road's effort to try and return something to Mexico.
We're trying to do things that Baja would normally not have access to, but since we have the access coming from the United States, it's kind of a hands-across-the-border approach. We're very pleased that the government of Baja and Baja California Sur have invited us to continue putting on these promotions, so we want to do something other than just bring tourism dollars down here.
Environmental awareness seems to be the theme of the day as SCORE and the entire off-road community is actively involved in the national Tread Lightly program. Rod Hull is the national spokesman for the Forest Service effort, and in addition to signing a lot of Rod Hull Tread Lightly posters, he spends much of his free time speaking to groups around the country.
We want to educate the people that are first-time users of four-wheel drive vehicles, of motorcycles. We want to educate them that the land is very sensitive. You know, it's a privilege that we have to use this, so we want to be sure that we educate the people in the proper use of public lands.
And off-road is making a real effort to police itself. Following each race, the Competition Review Board convenes to discuss race matters and rule on specific incidents that occurred in the heat of competition.
A letter of reprimand carries no time or position penalty, however...
The CRB meetings include racers, SCORE officials, and members of the Independent Desert Racers Association, all there with one goal in mind, to responsibly race in the desert. Racing responsibly and pretty darn fast, Ivan Stewart makes it official. Another Baja 500 notch in the belt. That makes 9. Congratulations, Ivan. Already relaxed there, having pulled the helmet off at Ojos.
What a great feeling. The truck just ran fantastic all day. The course was tight and twisting. The times were down, but boy, we had a great race, and just proud to win the 500 again.
Danny Lettner finishes second, 23 minutes behind Ivan's winning time of 8 hours, 54 minutes, and 38 seconds. And Ivan's average winning speed of 48 miles per hour. The rest of the Class 1s really have their work cut out for them, as Lettner and Bob Gordon and the rest have now seen the Ironman's Toyota Yokohama race truck in his last 12 races win 10 unlimited class titles and 7 of those races overall. That is an amazing and unprecedented off-road run. Larry Ragland is the two-wheel drive full-size truck winner for the second race in a row and says that it sure didn't look that way earlier in the day.
I was doing fine until I was coming out of Mike's and I caught a rock going real slow, but it knocked me. I caught it on the right side and it knocked me over the side of the hill. And I was half on the course and half off, ready to roll down the hill. Luckily, I was blocking the course so nobody could get by, so they had to get out and help me.
Doug Fortin Jr.'s Yokohama-sponsored Class 10 buggy takes home gold.
Rough last 100 miles, really rough last 100 miles. And I just tried to get the car in. Had about a 20-minute lead going out on the last 100 miles and just babied it in, made sure I finished.
Meanwhile, Roger Mears is nearing the completion of his day, and co-driver Tony Alvarez lets the crew know about it.
Four's on the way to Ojos. 10-4, Tony.
Newlywed Tom Burns finished first in the 1600cc buggy class and 9th overall. Tom celebrating his recent marriage to HDRA official Sheila Potter, who also helps on the timing of SCORE events.
I drove solo. No changing. Just kept on rolling. Mike's Sky Ranch, I think, is where I got ahead of everybody.
Roger Mears didn't even have to pull the hood off for this one, as he makes it back to Ensenada with no downtime and just gas and go pit stops. It all adds up to an unlimited mini pickup win and a 10th place finish overall. Just about as easy a day as brother Rick had recently.
Just flawless today. I mean, that's probably the most perfect run I've ever had. Never stopped for anything except for fuel. Just perfect. Great day.
John Swift takes the production sedan win, and that's a three-peat for John, something Ivan, you just accomplished at the Nissan 400, and I know that's not easy to do.
Well, let me tell you, just to do that one time is extremely hard to do. To get it 3 in a row is, people don't realize the teamwork, preparation, all the pre-running it takes to do one of those. To get 3 is unbelievable.
Danny Ashcraft finishes just 7 minutes later, and ordinarily a run like this would get you a Class 6 win, but not on a day when John Swift finishes 14th overall and has already popped the champagne cork.
We had a few problems, minor problems. We were able to stop and fix it. He'd get by, and then we'd get back in the race and get by him. And it was a good race.
Swifty got us about by Trinidad, and then we almost caught him back at the beach, and we were running pretty good with him for quite a while, but I think we lost one of our cylinders, and we finished the race on probably 5 cylinders.
Dan Smith rolls in with his second win of the year, the former biker turned trucker continuing to be the man to beat in Class 3.
Kurt Leduc and myself were having a really good race for a while. When I stopped to let my co-driver out, he was physically sick, and he caught back up with us, so we were having a good race down the pavement, and I ended up passing back in the dirt again.
Greg Vaughn and Val Dodd come in tired and happy as winners in Class 5. They credit no flats and a change from an automatic transmission to a stick version in their victory. Rod Hall's tortoise and hare strategy with his old, slower but dependable truck has worked for still another win for one of Baja's most successful drivers. Rod catches all of us by surprise, though, with what I guess is more or less a semi-retirement speech.
This is my last time for 500 miles.
My boy's taking 250 and I'm taking 250. I'm going to take the first 250 and let him have the bad stuff.
Spencer Lowe continues to shake up that super close points race of the stock mini pickups with his second win of the year.
No problems at all. I never got out of the car, never had a flat tire. We stopped for fuel, added a quart of oil. The Nissan just worked absolutely perfect. No problems whatsoever.
And Jerry McDonald pulls off another stock four-wheel drive win with a 27-minute margin of victory. Just as Ivan predicted, a pretty high survival rate in this year's Baja 500 with 163 of the 254 starters managing to finish the race. We'll be back with some final notes.
Are you someone who prefers the view from your couch? Then never mind. The Toyota 4x4 for those other guys.
Coverage of the Ducati SCORE Baja 500 has been brought to you by Toyota and your Toyota dealers. I love what you do for me. And Yokohama Tires. As we take a look at our top 10 finishers and all the class winners, Ivan, thanks so much for taking part in our show.
Steve, I want to thank you for inviting me. I want to thank Precision Preparation, the entire Precision Preparation crew, Toyota, Yokohama Tires, Toyota Racing Development, Nippon Denso Sparks Plug, Eclipse Mobile Sound, Progressive Wheels, Bilstein Shocks, Trick Racing Fuel, especially Cal Wells, Ken Laybourne, Jack Hall, Peter Miles, and Ron Bates. I know it's a long list, but they all help make it happen.
Our next broadcast will be the SCORE Baja 1000 on December 15th. We'll see you then.